Alright guys, let's talk about audiobooks. So, I'm sitting here, I'm working on this piece. I'm not going to show it to you because it's really big and there's almost nothing there. But I've been thinking about what to do about my audiobook. So, I just released my novel, of Stone and Steel, as most of you already know. This is my novel. It's super freaking sick. I did all the art for it myself with a ballpoint pen. And I self-published. I'm an indie author. I'm doing this all on my own. But now, the most asked question that I get probably every single day is, when are you going to come out with an audiobook? Or where can I get the audiobook? And I've been thinking about that a lot. I've done a lot of research into what that would take. And I think that it would take me anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to do an audiobook and do it right. And the prospect of an audiobook both excites me and makes me a little bit nervous. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why. So, first things first, I don't really do audiobooks. Audiobooks are not my thing. I can't retain the information. I love to read. That's okay. That's completely fine. I'm not saying that audiobooks are a bad thing. But I also understand that if you are listening to my book on audiobook, then you are not going to get all of the drawings that, exist throughout the work itself. For people who aren't familiar with my work, I do all of the character art for my novels. There's character art in here, there's setting pieces, just kind of within my world. See if I can do that. And I love my art, and it gives a lot of context to the story. But at the same time, my story is supposed to stand on its own 2 feet. That was a really big point of friction for me during my writing process, was I wanted to make sure that, I wasn't leaning too much on my drawings to the detriment of my own writing in terms of, explaining different characteristics of features on buildings or settings or even, just characters themselves. So it's not that I'm necessarily worried that people are going to be confused or they're going to be lost within my work, but I was excited to share my drawings with everyone. It's not a really big deal. It's certainly not something that would keep me from doing an audiobook, but, it's just kind of a thought that I've been having. All right, thought number 2 is, if I'm going to do an audiobook, obviously I'm going to front the production myself, and at this point I've promised my family that I will put no more money into this that is not, fueled from the novels itself. So, I'm putting no more of my family's money into my books or anything like that. All of the, this business, my art and all of that stuff is supposed to be self-sustaining from this point, which means that I've got books to sell, and I'm actively working on that, but it's going to be a little bit until I can afford to, produce an audiobook. And when I do, I want to do it the right way. I want to hire a talented voice actor. I want to do some form of casting calls, figure out someone that I really, really enjoy, work with them. And I also really want to do a score. Like I said, I'm not really all that into audiobooks. I'm habitually very, very bad at multitasking. I think that that's why I'm so good at the things that I do. I'm really good at long-range shooting. I'm really good at just doing, drawings with a single ballpoint pen. They take hours upon end, but I can maintain that focus for truly 8 to 12 hours at a time. I can sit down and draw for that long. It's something that comes very naturally to me. But multitasking, if I was even doing the dishes and listening to an audiobook, it just doesn't work. I would have to rewind 30 seconds, figure out where we're at in the book. For whatever reason, just listening doesn't do it for me. Reading has always been my thing. And again, that's fine. I'm sure that there's, a psychological aspect to that that's, comes naturally to me. But one of the things that I have found is the few books that I do read with a score have a tendency to immerse me into the story. I love when books have soundtracks. That might be a little bit of a hot take. I know that it's kind of a growing thing, but I know a lot of people don't like that. But I think that that's kind of, the job of a narrator, a really good narrator that gets into the characters and uses really easy to understand speech when they're not using dialogue. I think that that's, a very big part of immersion, and I would definitely go that route. But also, in some of the more thought-provoking, emotional, or climactic moments, I think it would be really, really special to have a score with my audiobook. So I am going to do that. Like, I'm not going to publish my audiobook without a score, which does inevitably mean I'm going to have to spend more money for it. That's not a huge issue to me. Like, you know, like I've said, like, one of the reasons that I'm going the route that I'm going with all of my novels and my artwork is because I need to have creative control of it so that I can do it the way that I believe is right. If that means, like, spending a little bit extra, I am happy to do it. Even if it means, like, taking away from my own profits. Trust me, I've already done that with a lot of this work. Again, I'm super happy to do it. I have no issues. But, you know, it's going to take a little bit more. And I've flirted with a couple different ideas, like doing more of like a royalty program for anyone that wants to help sign on for this. It's like, hey, I'm not going to pay you the $5,000 or whatever it costs, and you just get X% of the novel. I think that most people would argue that's objectively a bad decision on my end. You know, if these books end up doing as well as honestly they've been doing the past couple weeks, then that potentially gives somebody a lot more money than they would initially have for their standard rate. I'm okay with it. I'm really okay with it. I expect these contracts to kind of change over the years of me publishing these books, and the beginning process, this is just for me figuring it out. And, you know, if I have to like lose 15% of like all sales of my audiobook in perpetuity, it doesn't bother me all that much. You know, right now, like, there is no middleman. Like, there's no one taking 15% off of these novels. There's nothing. Like, I am paying the print value, you know, so my print-on-demand company gets what they get, and then I get the rest of it, which is a significantly better deal than anywhere else you will ever find. Doing direct sales is the way to go if you don't care about exposure. And, you know, I figured I'd kind of do exposure on my own. That's why I have a YouTube channel, and that's why I'm starting to do stuff on Instagram. It's because, you know, I can hopefully drum up my own exposure. The jury's still out on if that was a bad decision. But, I mean, I'm having a good time doing it. Like, we're having fun. But, yeah, you know, so that's kind of where we're at. I do want to do an audiobook. It's not going to be super soon, but I'm actively, like, it's one of those thoughts that's constantly in my mind. And quite frankly, the only limiting factor to audiobooks at the moment is just resources and money. Like, once I have enough money to start pursuing that avenue, it's probably one of the first things that I will do. And now that I'm starting to sell my art, like, I can funnel all of that into the audiobook fund as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. If anyone's interested in, like, I don't know, I have no idea what my audience is, but if you are like some sort of a sound engineer or an internet composer or something like that, and you're interested in writing a score for books and like you want to read my work, I will send you a free copy and we can talk about that, because I don't know a whole lot about that field. I've researched some people that I really like, but odds are they're never going to respond to me if I reach out to them, because they're just, you know, they're big and they have a big following and I'm me. But yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. Audiobooks. I'll keep you guys updated on whether or not we do that. Go team vlogging.